We are live. Hello and welcome to I Kinda Believe. Tonight we are going to talk about stuff we kind of believe in, stuff that makes us wonder, and most importantly, just what could really be out there. Tonight I'm joined by Skinny, Doug, Lorenzo, Sleestack, and Zach. Thank you guys for coming. What do y'all kind of believe? What do y'all kind of believe in?
Chemtrails.
I don't believe in nothing.
Nothing. Chemtrails. Poop.
Black people.
I believe in poop.
I mean the Men in Black. I'm sorry, I misspoke.
The Men in Black. Tonight we have a hell of a show for you guys. If anyone showed up, thanks for waiting to those of you in the chat. And I'm loading up my secret document here I got on a secure server offline. It's actually dug underneath my Uncle Joe's trailer cabin.
Poop.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, what do you guys know about the Men in Black?
I like the movie.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to come up quite a bit tonight.
I hear they prefer the term men in African American.
Okay. How about you, Lorenzo? Why are you so quiet?
Probably because it's muted.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm trying to let people know the show's on.
Oh,
We're
okay.
not just talking to ourselves.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Zach, what do you think?
I think they made that movie to discredit the idea of them actually being real.
Well, it started off as a comic book.
Well, same difference. I mean,
Take the L, Zach.
What?
Yeah, but the comic book, there was only like 2 issues, so it's not like it was like a well-known comic book.
It wasn't even a good adaptation either. I mean, it was a solid movie, but it did not really follow the book.
I agree with Zach. I think they made the movie to kind of discourage the fact that there might be a real organization out there.
I think Lorenzo's remembers that organization. He's always wearing that black suit and tie.
Yeah.
I seen him.
Yeah, his membership on the show is in question as of late. And that's part of the reason why, actually. We think we might have been infiltrated. We run a respectable little outfit here in the desert. And he really doesn't have anything to say to that. That's interesting. Well, anyway.
Neither confirmed nor denied.
So the Men in Black, as you guys might have guessed, there's not a whole lot of video out there on the Men in Black. There is some really interesting photos, and I'm going to, midway through, I'm going to show you something called the, what was it called? The Spaceman. And it's tangentially related, sort of related. And it's one of the more well-known things. It's also one of the pieces of evidence that's connected to this story, but it's not really disprovable or provable to the other fact. So, unfortunately, I don't have any videos. If you watched this last week, we talked about Atlantis a little bit, and due to the nature of our investigations, that's going to be for a later episode. But as always, we'll run a poll at the end and see what we come up with. So, if anyone has anything to add, I want to get into my document here in a second. But any thoughts before we go on?
Well, I just want to add 125 plus 225 is 350.
The Men in Black, the first known report of a mysterious stranger showing up and warning someone not to talk about their UFO encounters was in 1947. Started with a guy named Howard Dahl. We'll talk about him, his son, and his dog, and the 6 UFOs that wanted to kill his dog after a bit. But there's been numerous reports since then. There's a famous book written in 1956 called They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers. And the idea that these dudes are out there working for the government and stuff is pretty prolific. And as we discussed earlier, resulted in a movie which may or may not have been a campaign to discredit stuff. So basically what you got with the Men in Black is they're people that look odd in some way, either through their complexion or through their features, and they just act weird. They're human beings, or at least they're posing at it. And they're any encounter with these people always turns out really, really weird. So
Wait a second. You just described that Justin Trudeau guy, right? The man in blackface.
yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're very influential. They're even up in Canada, as you know.
Yeah. So one of the first stories I got is Dr. Herbert Hopkins. He was working as a consultant on a UFO case in Maine. One evening, he received a phone call from someone purporting to be an activist in the UFO community. They asked if they could visit Hopkins to discuss the case, and in only minutes, the man arrived. The man was wearing a black suit and black tie and had a very unusual facial appearances, with no hair or eyebrows and an extremely pale figure. His dog barked erratically as soon as the man got there, and after the visitor was finished questioning him, the visit got even stranger. Here's how it went according to the website, The Night Sky. The man in black informed Hopkins that there were 2 coins in Hopkins' pocket, which was correct, and asked him to remove one. Hopkins complied and held the coin, a shiny new penny, in the palm of his hand. The MIB told Hopkins to watch the coin closely. After a few moments, the coin took on a silvery appearance and then appeared to be going out of focus. It then began to fade and eventually disappeared altogether. The MIB informed Hopkins that the coin would never be seen on this plane again. He then inquired as to whether Hopkins was familiar with alleged UFO abductee Barney Hill. Hopkins replied they had heard of Hill, but was under the impression that he had died in the not-too-distant past. The MIB informed Hopkins that was correct. Barney didn't have a heart, said the man in black. Just like you no longer have a coin. It should be noted that Barney Hill actually died of cerebral hemorrhage. And I might have a little bit of that reading on.
What? Wait a second. Sorry to interrupt. It was a fucking coin trick?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, it was David Blaine.
It was such a good coin trick. It caused his brain to bleed and he died.
Yeah. Wow.
This was also adapted into the famous movie No Country for Old Men. Anton Chigurh. You could describe Anton Chigurh as a man in black, honestly. Hopkins was extremely shaken by the encounter, followed by the advice of the man, and burned all files he had related to the case. He had repeated phone troubles after, which could be construed as maybe being tampered with or tapped into, and he never saw the man again. So I got a picture here of our next...
conveniently burned all the evidence.
Right. So next we have a picture of Cecil Says here with Dr. Albert K. Bender. He was a well-written and extremely intelligent researcher who founded the International Flying Saucer Bureau. In 1955, his research was about to yield serious fruit, as he prepared to unveil a paper that would prove the U.S. government had, to one degree or another, covered up proof of UFOs. He planned to publish his findings in the Space Review until he was visited by a man in black. This time it was 3 men, dressed in all black, visited him at his home and warned against pursuing the topic of UFOs any further. He immediately shut down his research and the Flying Saucer Bureau. Many people who claimed to know him said he was a changed man after this encounter. His later works were rambly and almost unreadable, and he seemed to live his life in constant anxiety and terror. And he claimed that he received mysterious phone calls with nobody on the other end until the end of his life in 2002. So I mentioned earlier that the very first report of a man in black goes all the way back to 1947. This incident is the Maury Island incident, and this is the man and a son and a dog in the summer of June 27th on a lake. Basically, the story goes that Harold Dahl was on a conservation mission on the Puget Sound near the eastern shore of Washington's Maury Island, gathering logs when he saw 6 donut-shaped obstacles hovering about a half a mile above his boat. Before long, one of them fell nearly 1,500 feet, followed by raining metallic debris, some of which hit Dahl's son, Charles, on his arm, as well as the family dog, who didn't survive the ordeal. Dahl was able to take some pictures of the aircraft with his camera, which he later showed to his supervisor, Fred Crispin. Skeptical, he went back to the scene to look for the following morning when he was visited by a man in black. They end up at a local diner where the man was able to recount in extraordinary detail what Dahl had experienced. What I have said is proof to you that I know a great deal more about this experience of yours than you will want to believe, the man said. And this quote came out of the 1956 book, They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers. Dahl was told not to speak of the incident. If he did, bad things would happen. So these events on Maury Island continue to fuel conspiracy theories to this day, even though the U.S. government deemed it a hoax after Dahl and Crimson, his supervisor, admitted as much. In particular, the mention of the man in black suit would evolve into a key obsession for UFO enthusiasts. In all the different incarnations of the Men in Black, usually they have one purpose: to muzzle witnesses of strange paranormal phenomena. They almost always wear black suits and hats with dark sunglasses and drive black cars and arrive in groups of 2 or 3. Some describe them as FBI agents, while others recall them as having strange appearances, sometimes with supernatural features like glowing eyes and strange complexions. And there's the book in question. They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers. So the thing that, we look at UFO incidents and we look at stuff like that, and there's always a common thread linking a lot of this stuff together. Otherwise, we'd spin off into a million different conspiracy theories. But like UFOs, this is one with a lot of the same kind of elements involved in every single report of these things. What say you guys?
I honestly think it's just maybe a division of the CIA or something. Because if you listen, they're using very gangster-esque tactics like the CIA uses. They show up, they all dress the same so that they're hard to identify, and then they bully people. So it doesn't matter what these people seen, whether it's maybe some kind of government experiment or experimental aircraft or anything. These people always show up to make sure to bully people and tell them to keep their mouths closed.
But why is that? Like, what are they actually seeing things then?
Well, you know how the government's always been paranoid, loose lips sink ships and all that.
Yeah, propaganda.
They used to make the cartoons that would show soldiers writing home at wartime, and somehow the evil Japanese or whoever we were at war with at the time would intercept the message and cause everybody to get killed. The government's super ultra paranoid because they're doing all this crazy stuff that they don't think that the American people should know, because if we knew, we would think that we're insane.
We're insane? The populace or the government?
Yeah, that we're insane.
I mean, we kind of are. This corona thing happened and everyone ran for toilet paper.
Yeah,
it made no sense because it's not a disease that gives you diarrhea.
Exactly, and imagine if they was telling us the stuff that they were working on or the things they had found that they're hiding from us.
People might end up squeezing the Charmin. And
exactly.
It cannot happen ever.
Exactly. You see all the Charmin everywhere. Just people just be squeezing it. The government knows.
And the government doesn't want us to squeeze the Charmin. But I will say, I don't think they're connected to the CIA, because the CIA is completely inept and retarded at this point. I mean, case in point, they had Tom King working for them for a period.
That's a good point.
I mean, this man doesn't even know the difference between a clip of magazine and the fact that a revolver does not have a clip. and can't magically shoot 19 consecutive rounds without a reload.
Tom King. Not a fan of Tom King, though, I kind of believe.
I thought you said Tom Hanks.
Him too.
Tom Hanks definitely worked for the CIA.
Tom Hanks is the CIA. They have a little base on his forehead.
So I guess the thing that bothers me about the Men in Black idea is that, okay, you could say what you want about UFOs and if they're real, and people who see them are crazy or whatever. But what is a little easier for a lot of people to believe is that there are these government agents out there trying to keep government secrets. That doesn't seem as far-fetched.
Well, yeah. And I actually was going to say, I think Doug's spot on. I don't know about their motivations or whatever as far as, but, I wouldn't be surprised if the government's kind of being interested if there's something coming, somebody sees something that could be from outer space. Could be a potential rival. If they're concerned about they're spying on there's branches of the government that's spying on our own allies,
Right.
for like trade secrets and stuff. So, yeah. I mean, that's what, like, according to WikiLeaks, which seems to have been pretty accurate. So if they're doing that, they definitely would be interested in something going on in the sky that could be, invading our, airspace or whatever. Yeah, but why they tell people to shut up, I don't know. It might be national security. Could you just imagine the sort of, I guess that's the thing, though, that the speculation is that people might panic but I don't know. I mean, just the government doesn't want to have rivals, period. I mean,
well, if the government did have a Men in Black division, wouldn't that validate all these things that they're trying to hush?
Well, it wouldn't mean that there's necessarily, wouldn't even necessarily mean there's space aliens. What if somebody just goes and they see, they start talking about some experimental aircraft they spotted? Wouldn't there be wouldn't say the Air Force or U.S. Space Command? I mean, or some sort of agency.
What if it's some kind of priceless? What if it's some kind of priceless mineral that they could, use for their own nefarious or other reasons? Well, you don't want random people just finding this stuff.
Well, what if it's just something that give us an economic advantage, or I mean, not me or any of you guys, but like just someone on Wall Street or whatever, I mean, what if it's some sort of like proprietary technology is what I'm thinking.
Well, like, just think about it. What if the Russians have way more sophisticated, surveillance technology than we thought? One thing you need to think about now is look how common drones are. You can go to Walmart and buy a drone. You can buy a little tiny drone that just flies around everywhere. So that means probably 30 years ago, the government had that technology and was using it to fly around and spy on people. So when you see these things that crashed and all this stuff, and it looked like small aircraft flying around, it was probably something of that sort. And they just didn't want anybody finding this stuff. If they crashed, they didn't want you talking about it. The public would go insane. They would lose their minds, hoard up toilet paper, buy all the cleaning supplies, all that stuff.
Well, even the stealth bomber was a secret at first.
Yeah,
and that didn't even. I don't think that was even as. I mean, I don't think it was even as super impressive as. I mean, it was a cool piece of technology, but I don't even think it was quite what it was supposed to be. Like, I think it might have shown up on some sort of radar. Or
yeah, it didn't work as well as what they as they wanted.
But I remember, Popular Mechanics had that on the cover of their magazine. I think they had a stealth bomber before it even was. Or somebody described something similar to that. There were some triangular shaped planes or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, by the time they unveiled it, it was complete anyways. That's the kind of weird part. So you got to think, where are they holding back right now?
I think Roswell might be where they experiment on some experimental planes.
So it doesn't even have to be aliens, particularly. These
Yeah, they
Men in
definitely
Black
want
people could
people.
just be controlling everything, man.
I
Now,
believe
Yeah,
it's
that
just
definitely would be a threat if it was an alien. It would be a threat to our government.
yeah. I believe
there
that they're
is a
just
trend though. Like, haven't you guys noticed that the Men in Black, they always target these, toothless white guys who are living out in trailers in the middle of the desert?
So you
Because they're
think
racist.
That's some kind of ist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
but
not
think-
going to put a base in New York City.
Or what if they have a gun that makes all these guys ugly and untrustworthy looking?
well that's another one of the common threads in the Men in Black sightings is the memory thing.
Yeah, like
And you
this
don't
guy
even
was like perfectly normal, great looking, like Leonardo DiCaprio. Then after his encounter with the Men in Black, suddenly his hair and his teeth fall out. He's living in a trailer with 12 cats.
What about it? What if every time a person smokes a joint, they get all of a sudden they get the aliens
arrested for
or the
being a
government
dirty
aliens
hippie.
kidnap them and rectally probe them and then take away their memory, and that's why they like lose sight of time when they're high.
well, what's to say that in the Men in Black in the movie, you know how they get the little thing and they flash it and it makes everybody forget. What if they've got just an aerosol spray and they come up to you and it flashes, but it sprays an aerosol spray in your face that's just like hallucinogenics made from like mushrooms or some other thing, and you just go crazy. And then from that point on, nobody believes anything you say
That's
because
what
you're
they did
crazy.
to the Unabomber. If you actually go back, he's talking about he took part in like the LSD testing or whatever, and they fried the dude's brain, and he ended up mailing bombs to people.
Yeah, the government's all the time experimenting with drugs and stuff like that.
And this guy was like a mathematician. Like, this dude was legit a genius. And then they just
Fried his brain.
fried.
See, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
they
pretty
talk
much.
about
These
it
intelligent
in,
people that see the stuff that happen, what's to say they don't just, spray them with some drug or inject them with some drug and it turns them into a raving madman and then nobody believes anything they say.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was the Atlantic or it was one of those. I think it was one of those like liberal or left wing outlets that did some in depth, that does like in depth stories where it's like 7 pages of talking about what happened to the Unabomber. And I can't remember what college was that. It was one of those college classes where they get people high, or one of those college research things
Art
that the
120.
government was involved with. It was either
Yeah,
Project
sure.
Bluebird or MK Ultra.
But even on that, there's speculation that Men in Black were behind the Helter Skelter, and that Manson and them were either kind of talked into doing it, or they just did it outright. Because if you actually look back on it, like, that was the end of the 60s.
Well, with everything that we're talking about here, there seems to be that element of we're going to take away the ability to prove any of this. One person saying he ran into one other person, that's anecdotal evidence at best. So maybe that's how these guys operate, in that they find somebody who's on the cutting edge of something that could be real, but a lot of people take with skepticism. They throw in 2 government agents acting like tough guys, and all of a sudden you got a stew going where no one believes that guy anymore.
But are they even guys, though? Like, are they even human?
That's one of the things that we kind of touched upon there in my reading, was that they have strange features a lot of time, pale skin, that kind of thing.
Now, just saying that, what if they are human? One thing I've always thought about, like we've seen all these comic books about superheroes and all this stuff. What if all this stuff is based on things that the government's actually doing? What if during every major event, like wars, whatnot, they send out somebody and spread these rumors? Hey, this guy is a monster. This guy has super strength or whatever. And when this person dies, they replace them with somebody else. So they continue this with their Men in Black thing. The Men in Black show up. They make people that look scary. This guy shows up. He's scary looking. The rumor gets around. they keep sending guys that look scary, that are intimidating. Maybe they make them look like the same person, so that you might see one, and then later, all the way across country, somebody's like drew a picture, somehow got a picture, and it looks like the same guy over here.
He's just scarier. He's going, grr.
Yeah, it's just mind games. What if everything's just a big mind game?
It's all one giant gay op, Doug.
But then, last week we were talking about the simulation theory. How far does this go?
Yeah, like what if they're like agents, like in the Matrix?
Right.
That is pretty weird.
I tried putting a link in the chat, but I don't think I'm a mod. So I put in private chat. Harvard making the Unabomber. It's from the Atlantic. So I was right. It wasn't right about the publication, but it is Harvard's kind of liberal publication.
No, he meant the private chat there, Mecca, in the StreamYard.
Yeah, I wasn't able to put it in the YouTube chat. I don't think.
Oh, you're making him a mod. Never mind. Also,
yeah, I'm making him a mod.
Skinny being an idiot, as always. So, on the subject of Men in Black, like they seem to be everywhere. Like I even remember watching this special about like the Lizzie Borden murders at one point. There's actually a couple of reports of some people seeing like strange men in black suits being around the property or going to the house shortly before those events unfold.
Say that again, Lizzie Borden?
Yeah, Lizzie Borden. I mean, granted, it was on the History Channel.
Well, you have to believe it was on the History Channel.
I can call BS on them for one very specific thing.
Asians. That's all.
The North Hollywood Shootout. The two guys that dress up in full body armor and went and robbed the bank or whatnot, and then it ended up with a big shootout. History Channel did 2 specials on that. They had 2 completely different endings in both specials. And one of them, the guys killed themselves, and in the next one, they were killed by the cops. So that just tells me that History Channel just changed the stories to fit whatever narrative.
Whatever narrative the Men in Black tell them to.
Yeah.
Apparently.
All right, Lorenzo, you're a mod now.
Mecca.
I was also
Mecca.
watching like
I wasn't able to put that in the chat.
I just made you a mod.
They were also spotted around the time of like not the Amityville haunting, but when the guy killed his family with a shotgun. There's talk about Men in Black being involved in that as well.
Really?
Because they're like, how do you shoot your own family in the back with a rifle without waking any of the other ones up? Because they were all like in a state of rest when they were killed. There was no struggle, no nothing.
So they just like got up real close to these people and pulled the trigger on them while they were sleeping.
Yeah, all at the same time.
So, and this had nothing to do with aliens or paranormal stuff. This was just
no, but they may have been setting home dude up. You never know. He may have seen some crazy shit too, and they were making sure nobody would ever believe him. But he did. But yeah, I mean, it just seems odd that every time there's something going down that's strange, you always hear about guys in suits like Lorenzo down there at the bottom.
Well, isn't that what the government, the officials, they dress up in suits.
What if it's your people have infiltrated our society, Lorenzo?
Well, most okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. Most sleep sticks are pretty freaking stupid. I don't want your channel gets struck Mecca McCheese, but they're not really, they're kind of known as a low IQ race. The sleep
So
just
I identify it more as altrusion.
So this can't circle back to us talking about lizard people. Remember, we were talking about lizard people.
Well, we get blamed every time. Every time there's a stupid government official U.S. government officials, we get blamed. We blame the lizard people. Like Hillary Clinton's not one of us. I never saw her when I was growing up in the land of lost.
The drunken deity here says that the
I don't
Mothman.
remember seeing her when I was a hatchling.
The drunken deity here says that the Mothman had men in black show up. Didn't we cover the Mothman in an earlier episode?
Yeah.
I don't think we heard anything about Men in Black on that case, actually.
Is the Mothman the guy?
Well, we didn't dive that far deep into the Mothman.
Is the Mothman the one who would stand behind someone and go caw? Or was that just Ralph?
That's right.
That's the Ralph
And
man.
he's saying,
Cacao. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. Oh, let's see here.
I kind of believe.
You kind of believe it?
Yeah, I
Now-
kind of believe.
What
So
about?
Go ahead, Zach.
I was going to say, let's assume they're not aliens. They're not government agents. What would you say about them just being agents of chaos? Say demons incarnate that happen to show up around all these strange occurrences, causing mayhem and confusion amongst people. You think there could be any validity to that? I've heard that put forward a few times about these alleged men in black suits.
That would, well, that'd be interesting. They are.
Parents. They always seem to be around these strange events that it's never anything good that they show up for.
Well, the Bible does say that Satan's like a, what is it? I can't remember exactly what it's talking about, but it's pretty much that the devil and his workers are among men sowing discord and whatnot. I can't remember any of the Bible verses, but
Aren't they like supposed? Isn't Satan supposed to be one of the most beautiful looking angels according to?
well, he was when he was an angel. He's been cast out of heaven now. I'm sure thousands of years in hell, he probably's not as beautiful as he once was.
And then the evil spirits that can disguise themselves as angels of light.
That's true. But what if Zach's got a good point there? What if that's what these are though? Are agents
Just straight up
chaos or demons or what if it's just a cult? What if it's a cult of people, a doomsday cult? At the very least, sowing discord and trying to bring about the end of the world.
well, what if they're not
Well,
trying
you
to bring
guys,
about the end of the world? They're trying to bring about riches in their account.
Do you just describe like some comic book people sowing discord trying to bring about the end of the world?
No, they're just trying to bring about some kind of Twitter nonsense. Twitter's not the real world, Lorenzo.
They're just trying to bring about a couple dollars into the bank account. Man.
Trying to bring up the ultimate grift, the grift apocalypse.
The twilight of, what do they call that in Norse mythology, where all the comic book stores shut down. Yeah,
Ragnarok.
Yeah, trying to create comic book Ragnarok. That's your LCS.
Well, I think we succeeded then. So
what the hell?
The last thing that we were talking about just now before we went on a tangent was so Zach, you were saying that these could just be normal people without any kind of supernatural element to them that are just working.
No, I was saying demons.
Demons, okay.
Yeah.
So demons out there doing this. Why would they need to pretend to be men and operate in public then in the light?
Further sow confusion.
If they come to you, appear to you as a demon, you'd freak out.
Yeah.
If they just appear to you as a weird guy in a suit, well, that'd get a little more ears moving.
If they appeared to you behind a pizza joint, you'd freak out.
If they appeared to you behind Hawkins Park, Pizzeria.
Don't worry, we got our very own Hawkins Park hero in the chat.
Eric Hawkins.
Eric Hawkins.
Hey, Eric.
He'll protect him.
Ah,
All right, I gotta talk about this picture I have up on screen before it gets weird here. So this is known as what's the name? The name's really weird. What's this called? The Solway Firth Spaceman is what we're looking at here. Let me type that in real quick. This is the Solway Firth Spaceman. All right, so what we have here is a picture. I believe this was taken in 1964. The man was out at a park with his daughter, took a picture of her, and when he got home and developed it, he noticed that there was a spaceman behind her. That's pretty weird. The guy who took it is a guy named Jim Templeton, and he took it to Kodak to get verified. And they said it was real. And in fact, they offered a reward to anyone who could prove it was faked. No one ever came forth and won that. So after he took this photo, he claims to have been visited by two men who went by the names Number 9 and Number 10. He claims that they became angry with him and left shortly after Jim revealed he did not see the figure while taking the photo, only noticing it after the picture was developed. Jim claims he was later contacted by two employees of a missile launch pad in Australia who claimed they had seen the same figure at the site, which was 20 miles from where the photo was taken, which I guess was Berg Marsh overlooking the Solway Firth in Cumbria, which I think is somewhere in Australia. Notwithstanding anyone that might be beating their mothers over there. Again, Kodak offered a reward to anyone who could prove the photo was faked, and no one has ever claimed it. And the strangest turn of events came from the link to a planned launch of a Blue Streak missile in Woomera, South Australia. Just days after Mr. Templeton had taken his photograph, the missile test on the other side of the world was aborted by technicians who reported seeing two men in the firing range. Upon later seeing the Solway Spaceman picture on the front page of an Australian newspaper, they were said to be stunned as the figure looked the same as the figures they saw close to the missile. Plot thickens as the Blue Streak had been built at RAF Space Atom in Cumbria, just a few miles from where Mr. Templeton had photographed his daughter Elizabeth. So he took the photo in 1964 and died in 2011. Why are these men in black, or why is the spaceman showing up at an actual missile location? Do you think this is like we were talking about earlier, where these are just people out there to sow chaos?
I think these people came back in time to stop something terrible from happening.
Kind of like what we saw with the Large Hadron Collider back in 2008.
I think they were trying to stop Dynamite from publishing a bad comic book cover.
Well, they wanted to actually protect the Earth. And they know nobody's going to look at that comic book cover, so we're safe.
It's not even a current Vampirella run. But yeah, what do you guys think of this photo?
I think it's a time traveler.
Time traveler?
I think James the Frog's gay.
Because look at the suit. It's white and it's got like some kind of mask. I bet it's supposed to be like some kind of a cloaking thing that reflects light in the sun so that you can't really see them. But this picture captured them.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, it's really weird. I mean, why, if you were taking this photo and there was somebody behind your daughter like that, you would have noticed it. But he's saying he took the photo, went home and developed it and only noticed it after. There's no way somebody could be that close to you and you not know that they're there.
Exactly. And then you said that other people at the launch pad had seen somebody dressed like that.
Right. Yeah, and why are they messing around at a missile launch site?
What if that's a containment suit
for radiation?
What if something terrible happened? If there was some kind of leak, and there was a small team of those guys investigating, and that's why people kept seeing them, but they were keeping it hush hush. And what if this guy just legit didn't notice? What if it just he was far enough away that he didn't really? I know that's weird to think, but sometimes when you're paying attention to your kid and you're watching stuff, maybe he just didn't notice till later.
Well, yeah, and if you look at the composition of the photo, it looks like he was paying attention to get her, just framed her just about perfectly for an amateur photographer. It's not like he took this shot to get the spaceman in there. And the spaceman doesn't have any legs. His white against the sky is gonna not turn up. So for it to be an accident, that seems like more of a stretch than anything else. I think there's really something on that photograph. Why is that girl allowed on a missile site? Well, they were 20 miles from it. 6.
Yeah, they were far away from the missile site. That's why I'm thinking that maybe they sent out a crew, testing for radiation. Maybe the missile was like nuclear or something, and they had some kind of accident.
Yeah. Well, some of the first missile testing was 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple years later, 1947, we're seeing, Roswell, the swamp gas balloons and stuff like that. This is going to be far-fetched, but I think if there are aliens out there that took notice of us, it's because we harness nuclear energy. That was the beacon that they saw and said, "Hold on, we got to go check out what these guys are doing."
Yeah, because that would show up from space.
Yeah, that's like
giant explosions.
That's Prometheus handing people fire.
Well, in the case of that photo, I don't think it has anything to do with space aliens. I think it's like, if the U.S. government can go, and I don't know if they did back then, but the U.S. government nowadays, they go, somebody could be miles away from the U.S. border, and there's border patrol agents talking to them. And so couldn't they just be miles away from of some base, and so the government officials are wondering what they're, I don't know how populated that area is, whether there's like a town there, or if it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, couldn't just be some government officials wondering what these people are doing?
There's probably missile bases all over Lorenzo that we don't even know about.
Well, like when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I'd walk around and the cops would stop me for no reason.
Well, you are a lizard person.
Well, yeah, maybe it was racial, but maybe they didn't like people of color, green people, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's too close to a missile base, and they might get and it's like too close. Might not be too close according to us, but according, to some classified base, maybe someone, within, was it 50 miles or however it was?
20. Yeah.
So does anyone know where this area is? Like on the map, like
it's 20 miles from a missile site.
Well, if it's Australia, and they were at a park 20 miles away,
it's about 1,000 kangaroo hops.
Australia is there's big chunks of Australia where nobody lives, so you would think they would put the base right out in the middle. But I guess
how would they use like radar, or how would they spot somebody who's like, what they say, how far away?
20 miles.
Oh, so it's only 20 miles.
Yeah, but they were at a park. They weren't trespassing on the base or anything. They were 20 miles away. Yeah, but if they were near
some experimental base, can there be some like
experiments that bring time travelers to them?
Curious government officials just trying to make sure they're not going to interfere with something.
Well, what if that's a Power Ranger?
That's a possibility.
So if this spaceman was behind the little girl, how did they survive?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't survive.
What if it's not a spaceman? It's a ghost.
It's creepy either way. But like I said, Kodak said that they never got anyone to prove it was a forgery or anything. But yeah, I don't know. I thought this was one of the more interesting things connected to Men in Black. After he went public with them, number 9 and number 10, or I heard it was number 11 instead at some reports, came and talked to him, that kind of thing. It was pretty big news. One of the more well-known photos in the paranormal community. So now here's another photograph. This is not nearly as interesting as the other one, but this is considered one of the most ironclad pieces of evidence concerning Men in Black. I know you can't see a whole lot from there, but it looks like there's a 63 Chevy pickup truck. You know, fits in with the time period. Obviously, a guy in a black suit. That kind of thing. I don't know. If this is the evidence, how did they get it, and why did they think this shot was so confirming of their claim anyway? Like, if this is the best picture you can get, I mean, that's something, but it's not entirely convincing on its own.
Does this end the Ford versus Chevy debate? Like, because aliens love Chevys now, or
drivers return on foot?
Something's got to be going on, because like we've had so many technological advances, but we're still using the same internal combustion engine.
That's because we're relying on oil. That's just a government conspiracy.
Yeah, but there's a lot of talk of them being involved in stopping electric cars. Henry Ford even developed a car that ran off of biofuel made off of hemp.
Yeah, they want us dependent on oil because they're all getting kickbacks from foreign oil people.
But don't you think it's just odd that they would do that, but they would allow us like all these technological advances like social media and everything?
The problem with, like, say, biodiesel is like the countries that have used biodiesel, they end up growing a bunch of stuff. Instead of food, they start growing a bunch of junk to use as fuel. I think.
Well, it is kind of strange because there does seem to be a point where, like, before they arrive, when shit's kind of started to go sour, especially within the government, if you think about it. Because, like, even pot, like hemp, they use that for everything. They were even developing, biofuel cars to run on hemp, everything. And then suddenly, 1937, kind of around that time, and then, just a little while before Roswell, shit just went. And then they started dipping their fingers in all this manipulative stuff, and then they got into the psychedelics and the mind control.
The government's always been in backroom deals and whatnot. I can't remember which election it was, but there was an election where they really did not know who had won. I'll have to do my research and find out who it was. They honestly could not. The votes were so close they couldn't determine a winner. So they all got together and made this backroom deal where one of them got to be the president and the other one got their party got a bunch of kickbacks, and they got all this money. And this was sometime around sometime in the 1850s, because the one group wanted access to lands that they'd give the Native Americans because they discovered gold on it, and that was part of their backroom deal, was that they got to take those lands back. So you can't trust the government. The government's a group of people concerned with their own means, and they manipulate the rest of us to get what they want.
You guys seen this?
Yeah, it's got a butterfly on the hand.
No, there's a American cheese in the bag.
Oh, is it? It looked like a butterfly from here.
Oh, Eric Hawkins, man. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
I kind of believe that.
I kind of believe it was Mary McCheese.
I believe that's the original right there. The other one was doctored.
Could you imagine like how hilarious it'd be if somebody like went in with CGI and like that scene from what was it, Signs, where you just see that alien walk across and just replace the alien with just McCheese just casually strolling by.
That would be a lot more
Intense
scary.
music and everything now.
That's funny, man.
That was hilarious.
No, but to get back on something that you said, Skinny,
What?
about us, it ties into something I was talking about earlier about how the government has been watching us and stuff, and you're talking about how everything's so technologically advanced, while they would let things like social media become more advanced, but not, like vehicles and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's because we're to the point now that we let them spy on us. We make deals with them. It's like, oh, I click accept on this, which means the government can spy on me at any time in history. They can watch everything I do.
Well, yeah, that it came out that they could like I don't know what the term for it is, but they could decode all the pings that Google was supposed to be getting for this corona thing, and they could actually identify individual people. They're like, it's not that hard.
Yeah, and we all agree to that.
But you got targeted ads too. Like Amazon knows about crap you're, Googling or Yahoo searching.
Well, the stuff we're talking about right here, I guarantee you, when we all get off here and get on our phones and start scrolling, it'll bring up some stupid crap that we've talked about to advertise to us.
They'll probably try to sell us a Men in Black.
Probably Men in Black or drones or something. Will Smith's greatest hits on compact disc.
It's the Millennium.
Yeah.
They'll probably get another Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
See, I think that's why we don't see the Men in Black so much anymore.
Yeah.
Because they can watch us from wherever they're at. They just turn on our cameras and watch us while we're pooping.
Actually, wouldn't mind more Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, but I don't want the Men in Black recommending to me, or I don't need Google to be. We talk about it on YouTube, and all of a sudden it's recommended to us. It's kind of creepy. And I think I've been recommending things on Twitter based upon YouTube.
Just to
be wrong, but
I just want to say that the Men in Black cartoon is better than the movies.
The second movie wasn't that bad. I actually really liked it. What was it, the third one, where he went back to young Tom?
Yeah, I mean they're good, but the cartoon man is the best.
The cartoon. It's the same thing with that movie Evolution too, if you remember that one.
I remember that movie.
Yeah, they had a cartoon of that one too, and it's actually a lot better than the movie.
I never saw the cartoon.
What about the real Ghostbusters cartoon? That first season was pretty freaky. I don't know if it was better than the first movie, but it was pretty good.
Definitely.
I'm not talking about the one with. I'm not talking about later seasons when it's Slimer and the real Ghostbusters or whatever they called it. I'm talking about that first season of the real Ghostbusters where it was really some freaky stuff that they don't typically put in children's cartoons.
Yeah, it's pretty scary for a children's cartoon.
Yeah. Well, even the original movie, had some like really out there concepts. One of the things I always take away from the first Men in Black movie, as silly as it could be, there was that scene where Tommy Lee Jones is taking Will Smith to the tabloid sellers. I don't know what to call them, but the newsstand with all the tabloids, and he's like, "Why are you paying attention to all this stuff?" And Tommy Lee Jones is like, "This is where all the news is at, for real." And I think there's a lot of truth to that, actually. That these topics like the Bat Boy and is Bigfoot gay, that kind of thing, that all information could be out there in these tabloids. It's just we scoff at the idea of it.
Bigfoot is gay. No, did you see that? That's on episode Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He's gay.
And of course, Skinny has a bottle of Bigfoot he's drinking out of.
I'm drinking Bigfoot juice.
I thought you were going to say something else.
It gets you messed up.
Skinny.
Don't be drinking that Bigfoot water. It turned the frogs gay.
Two-headed dogs. Six, if you wanna join us sometime, let me know. You'd be welcome on the show. We'd have to adjourn the council of I kind of believe to.
I think Six might be a man in black.
I think somebody is watching tonight. So back to the Men in Black. I have a picture here. This is also one of the more famous photographs associated with the Men in Black. And as we see, two guys in a suit, and it looks like they're wearing trilbies, walking in. They're using the doors to get inside of a building. And how's this for creepy looking dudes, huh?
I bet those hats are aluminum foil lined.
It looks like what's that guy from Harry Potter? Voldemort. I think these are fits the description, I guess. Gotham Knight, you're already in the chat. I don't know what you're talking about. Lorenzo, you're crazy. 6 scale will join with stunning revelations. And somebody's having trouble with kidney stones.
Oof.
Yeah, oof. Big oof for me.
I'm surprised it's not me drinking this garbage.
I went to the hospital over kidney stones. Holy crap, man. Because I had one like right by my pancreas or whatever. Or my appendix. It was one of the two. But it was there and it was like disturbing it. So like I was like in searing pain. I was vomiting up bile at the same time too.
Now, do you think they put things in drinks to cause you to have kidney stones?
No, they just give us Coke and let us make the choice for ourselves.
What if they're really like tracking devices and whatnot, and when they want to collect all the data, they make them start hurting, so you pee them out?
No, I still got my kidney stone somewhere, so they still haven't gotten the data.
Oh, well, I just wondered.
Keep all your teeth, keep your poop, keep your pee, keep everything. Don't let the government have any of it.
Yeah. I'll let the government have all the poop they want.
They can use that for witchcraft.
Yeah.
I kind of believe they can have it all.
But they can put a curse on there, I think. If any, can they take any object and put a curse on it? Even your poop?
Probably. The Men in Black don't put curses, though. They're just weirdos.
I think Gotham Knight in the chat is actually a Men in Black, too. Because one thing we learned through our show so far is that the Men in Black always go in groups of 2 or 3 at the most. So him and Scale Combat are definitely Men in Black together.
It's like when women go use the bathroom, there's always like 2 or 3 of them.
What are they plotting?
I don't know. Mecha sounds like Butthead. Becca sounds like Butthead? Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. So I don't know. I think if the Men in Black are real, I kind of believe they're actually out there for supernatural reasons. You know, I think we played the video last time we talked about the reptilians. Remember Obama's bodyguard? I think the Men in Black also moonlight as presidential security. And they're probably, huh?
If Obama has reptiles working with them, there must have been those really idiotic sleep sticks. Like the ones that would chase around the Marshall family.
I think they're about to get him.
Lorenzo.
You've been abducted again.
Lorenzo, come back.
Lorenzo's transmitting from the mothership.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. Well, you saw it here, folks. We lost Lorenzo. The Men in Black are real. And everyone who watched this chat is less safe as a result.
I don't think they took him. I think he had to go report back to base.
Yeah, he had to report his findings. He said they didn't get too close to the truth. Yeah, that's all the research I could come up with on the Men in Black. Usually we take suggestions from the audience for next week's topics. I know 6 Scale Combat had some suggestions. If you want to put those in the chat, or you're a moderator, why don't you go ahead and make us up a straw poll, if you don't mind there, 6. We lost Lorenzo years ago.
The Russian head transplant sounded pretty interesting. 6 had mentioned something about that.
Russian head transplant. Oh, yeah, with the 2-headed dog. Yeah.
I think they did actual human head transplants, or were attempting. It's something I'd only fairly, brushed across, but I do recall seeing a little bit about it. Okay,
well, that could be on the table for sure. I think tonight, Doug was talking about some of the points you made are really good tonight, Doug. The agents of chaos and that not necessarily needing to be paranormal in nature, just people out there sowing discord amongst each other. That's almost more insidious than thinking that these people are out there telling people to shut up about UFOs.
Yeah, I honestly think there's people out there. We have all sort of different groups. There's church groups and whatnot. So who's to say we don't have a group of people? They could even be. You've seen the movie The Skulls, where it's a secret fraternity and they do all this evil stuff.
Oh yeah, like the Skull and Crossbones.
Yeah, what's to say that that's not real and that's not what these guys are a part of? Some secret group that go around just suppressing information or gathering information for their own nefarious means.
The Illuminati.
I got a poll up if you want to mod me.
Oh, where are you? Why aren't you a mod already? Can you just type in the chat and I'll make you a mod?
I did. I'm the Needle Movers.
I don't see you. Post now.
He blocked you.
Removed from the screen.
I'm there.
Hey, if you're new to my channel, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe. I know how to edit videos now. And I made a pretty awful one on The Last of Us yesterday that I was even bored by, so go check that out. Add moderator. There you go. Yeah, that was our show for tonight for the most part. Before we get into closing thoughts, we're going to run this poll. And just want to let you guys know that there's some other cool streams going on tonight. My buddy Kevin Sharp, who's running the Dragon Guard campaign, he's actually doing a free sketch stream tonight. So if you go and back Dragon Guard tonight, you get a free original sketch by him if you get there in time. So go check him out. Friday night auctions are going on at Mike Miller's channel, and we always have the Doug cast in the morning. Hopefully tomorrow, Doug, perhaps.
Yeah, it's Saturday. It'll be a short one, but I'll probably have it.
Hell yeah. Oh, Skinny's got a screen up. Time travelers?
Yeah, because we were talking about the Spaceman.
I totally voted for time.
Travel would be a good one.
I totally voted for time travelers.
Oh, well, that's a little bit different than the time-traveling birthday thieves we talked about a while ago.
I put Atlantis on there because we still had to talk about that.
I like Roanoke, too, actually.
Oh, yeah.
McCheese sightings?
Yeah.
That'd be a fun one. We could have a night where everyone brings their Photoshops of McCheese.
Or maybe, just these people who were able to actually draw, just Photoshop, little McCheeses and all these weird photographs and submit them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been drawing McCheese for a year now, so.
I'm going to start Photoshopping all the Obama pictures as McCheese.
Yeah, Eric kind of makes me want to do a segment on this where we do like a McCheese sighting every week. Somebody submits something.
That'd be fun, man.
I do want to talk about time travelers, but I'd also like to talk about those talking about the head transplants and stuff. That I thought that would be cool.
We could make it like a body horror night.
We'll do that for Space Beard.
We'll make-
The
You know-
Cronenberg episode.
You know, McCheese is pretty much fits right into that. That's body horror right there. Imagine your head turning into a cheeseburger.
Yeah. So if you're voting Space Beards, you're voting for all that we just talked about right there.
Vote for whatever you want. We'll talk about whatever anyways. It don't matter.
Yeah, we just try to get the conversation going. Usually try to get videos in here that support the stuff we're talking about because it's really interesting to go over some questionable videos once in a while.
I think
Right.
time travelers in Atlantis could be an episode all on themselves too.
Well, we could wrap that up with Eric Hawkins talking about the man from Taured. Have you guys ever heard of that story?
I don't think I have.
It's one of my favorites. Basically, this guy gets to an airport and he submits his passport, and the people at the airport are like, "What the hell is Taured?" And he gets interviewed. He's like, "I make the trip from Taured to Japan every 6 months for business," and all of his documentation checks out and everything, and it's got like a passport stamp from a country called Taured. And they're like, "We don't know what the hell you're on about." And he points it out on a map, and they're like, "Well, that's not called Taured. That's called something else." And they keep him under observation, and then the next morning he's gone. So I guess the story or the copy pasta of that is that he was from another dimension and just happened to cross wires and ended up in our reality.
I love talking about dimensions as well.
Oh, yeah. That would be a good one.
Like
We'll have to
the
do that on
Berenstain Bears thing.
Yeah, Berenstein, Mandela effect. We kind of talked about that previous episode, but we could always do that again. And yeah, we'll have to. Will you be around next week? Maybe we could host this on your channel.
Maybe if I'm not back at work, then I'll be able to do it.
That'd be awesome, man. The poll is rigged. So where are we at on votes?
Oh, let me refresh it there. So we got Atlantis and Time Travelers tied for the lead with Space Beards and McCheese and Roanoke tied for first.
I think Roanoke can almost tie into the Taured thing.
Yeah, alternate dimension.
Yeah, because that was a. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about Atlantis too, Matthew Siebel. Definitely talk about that soon. Yeah, see? Yeah. I guess we get to closing thoughts. We only had one topic tonight, and it was pretty hard to find anything substantial because this is just such an elusive, mysterious organization. It's hard to track down any kind of evidence or anything we could dissect on the video. So if they are out there, they're an extremely prolific and successful organization. I'll say that much. But what say you guys?
Yeah. I kind of believe.
Kind of believe in the Men in Black?
Yeah.
I kind of do.
I kind of believe they're out there doing it again. You want to hit refresh again, Skinny?
Yeah, see?
Yeah. And pouring out for our time travelers, what everyone's interested in. Yeah.
Maybe we'll travel through time.
I think we are right now.
What if time is like a dimension, though, and then traveling through dimensions of time's nearly the same thing?
Lorenzo comes in just for that close on March.
He just crossed the dimensions, and now he's back in our space-time continuum.
Did you go to I Sort of Believe? Were you on I Sort of Believe with Robot Burger and Fat Guy and Good and Kaz? Lorenzo?
Huh? What? What the heck are you talking about?
He's talking about a Fat Guy and Robot Cheese and Good.
And Good.
I disavow. But I do kind of believe.
You do kind of believe.
Yeah, I kind of believe. I mean, I don't think they're reptiles. That's for sure. But I think they're some sort of government agents that visit people's houses. And yeah, I wish they'd visit before I was rectally probed by a Centaurian, a space alien asshole. But sometimes it happens, and sometimes we all have to make sacrifices in life, for the greater good.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Even
and if anyone saw this show tonight and wants to bring up something related to this particular episode, hit me up in the DMs. I'm at McCheese Mecca, and I'd like to do a one-on-one show with people that found the topic interesting, and we could just go over it in depth on something we may have missed over the episode, that kind of thing. So drunken deity, that'd be you in this case. If you're interested in that, just let me know. We can set up a time and do that. But we got what?
Please don't bring up alien backhole stealing, because that's a sore subject. Excuse the pun.
Aliens stole my butthole.
What?
Aliens stole my butthole.
That's true. A lot of them out there.
I can't poop now. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks everybody for coming. This is my first big live stream. I think we got up to 8 people. And I'd like to thank my guests for coming tonight. Skinny, as always, my co-pilot here. Doug, always a pleasure to have you. Zach, thanks for coming. And Lorenzo, you guys are great. And I think we all kind of believe together. So I'll go ahead and play us out.
Always a good time.
Always a good time. And I kind of believe, man. See you guys later.
I kind of believe.
I kind of believe.
Take care.